All right, back on the air again. Guess I can upload that little short. So I guess I've done my week in purgatory, in YouTube purgatory. I I did violate their written commandments, um, and I would imagine that because I appealed, they actually harshened the penalty just because I appealed. So they are dictators on the internet. That's all there is to it. And it is their platform, but it really should be a public utility, and they should not have this amount of control that they have right now. So, what I want to do and what I want to cover for you today is my answer to Jordan Peterson. I got a lot of respect for the man. He's had some good success. I see him in fine raiment and a nice starched shirt, in a suit and tie, and a beautiful house. Um, I'm glad for his success. I don't have that kind of success. I wish I had that. He has to write on critical issues before he speaks about those, and he says it does help him to think things out. And I wish I was writing, but the little desk I'm sitting on right here isn't even big enough to, well, it's big enough to hold my laptop on it, and that's it. So I'm trying to get myself into a better living situation so I can be a bit more functional. But Jordan Peterson produced a video recently, and a friend of mine forwarded it to me just today. And she said, give Jordan another chance. So in that video, and I tried to listen to it again, but the way it works in the text format and on YouTube, I can't get the thing to stop and pause and pick up where I want it to pick up at. So I'd like to give him the answer, and I do appreciate him speaking out about this company, Deloitte, this fourth largest accounting firm, whatever it is, that's headquartered in England. I appreciate him pointing out this group of, I believe they're evil, to be honest with you. They want to be God. They want to act like God. They want to dominate everything. Oh, she's in the cage. Quiet. And it's lightning and, well, not quite lightning, but it's thundering out there. She doesn't like that thunder. It's okay, little girl. I'm right here. So, anyway, I thought I'd give him some answers. For one, he doesn't seem to have a reference. So I'm going to give him a reference. I'm not going to give it to him. Just going to show it. If he happens to show up on my channel and watch this, great. There's my Bible, proper name version of the King James Bible. This is the reference. Now, as far as not understanding who the enemy is, I think we need to read the Bible. We need to know it in and out, because the enemy is using it against us. And it's only by reading it that we can actually come to grips with this situation. I think the enemy is best indicated clearly by the Bible and by the life of Yahshua the Messiah, whom you call Jesus Christ. I don't want to argue about the name, but we are referring to the same personage in time and history. And I know most people say that, oh, that God of the Old Testament, he was mean. Jesus would never do that. Well, they're wrong. And we can look to the Bible in the Gospels for more than one accounting of this. I think there are probably 3 accountings of this, maybe 4. And that is when Jesus, in his wrath, formed a whip out of ropes and whipped the money changers out of his father's house, out of the temple. And he beat them and he upturned their tables. And, talk about rage. It wasn't exactly a flower picking time, was it? It wasn't exactly giving them flowers, which what you yahoos out there seem to think that God would never do that. And you seem to think having wrath is a sin, and it's not. So, what did he do? Well, he turned the tables he disturbed their business. He whipped them. He beat the heck out of them. And within a week, they nailed him to a cross, hung him up with a couple other dudes that had been sentenced to death. So that was the action that basically got him killed. So, the money changers, and those are the evil ones on the planet today, they control all of this stuff. And to a certain extent, I think they might even control Jordan Peterson. And yes, I guess I have to admit they control me a little bit because I'm dependent upon the retirements and the other checks that they provide me with at this particular point that I earned. I earned more than that, but I can't get a fair shake because the whole system is rigged. It certainly is rigged. So if you want to know who the bad guys are, look to the money changers. Look to the international bankers. And there are specific families there. And we have another clue in the Bible as to who the bad guys are, Jordan. It's in Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. Now, this is where I try to get delicate because people get upset with me. And in case you're wondering, the people who are Jews and the people who are against the Jews both get upset with me on this. Because they don't like that I take a middle path, which I try to do because I think the middle path is merited. In Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, we have John the apostle he beloved, who was very young, who lived quite a while, into his 80s, on the island of Patmos, writing the book of Revelations, taking dictation from the Messiah himself. So this is the Messiah's words. And he says, I know you who say you are Jews and are not. Okay. Pastor Jerry Wicke was very kind to me, and he reminded me anytime I went on this extremist path that I needed to take into account the rest of that verse, which was they're associated with the singer Satan. It's okay. Come on. I'm right here for you. Lorraine, it's okay. Come here. Come on, little girl. Yeah, it's pretty loud thunder up here in the mountains. It's cold and it's rainy, and I had to start the heat. You're going to call this global warming, but it's not. And I am going to get into that during this particular presentation because we have to go there. So Jordan Peterson came out and actually went against a particular organization that's advising all these other professional groups that we have to take immediate emergency action because of climate change. I want you to understand the bad guys claim they are Jews and they're not. That's what it says in the Bible twice. It also mentions the synagogue of Satan. And we do have Satanists going around running the place. Lorraine, stop. Quiet. Okay, good girl. She's pretty powerful. She's only 9 months old. She pulled me on my face a couple days ago, and I skinned up my elbow and my knee. She wants to attend to my wounds. Boy, it tickles sometimes. Other times it just plain hurts. So, the bad guys can be identified. And what they've done is they've divided us to conquer us. But they've divided us also because their religion is based upon sacrifice to their god, the Satans. There's all kinds of names for these characters that they worship. But the thing's pretty much universal. They sacrifice the rest of us to their gods, and they love to sacrifice humans. And they've done that many times, and they're getting ready to do that to us again. But Jordan Peterson also lets us down in another way. He fails to call out the profession of psychology, which needs to be called out properly. Psychology is a profession that puts the locus of blame, control, of disease on the client. And yes, that's helpful, or can be helpful when you actually can help somebody to overcome something. But in a lot of cases, it actually just hides and covers up what's going on all around us. So we have a lot of mental illness going on. And most of it's the result of poisoning, mild heavy metal poisoning, particularly manganese, aluminum. So what I'm getting at is the Alzheimer's been pretty much inflicted upon us. That's why we have an epidemic of it. We have heart disease, and there's several poisons involved in that, including the metals, including the fluoridation of the water. We also have just all kinds of problems that are due to their science, which is basically a science of killing people. It comes out of ancient Khazaria, the poisons and toxins and the drugs that they majored in and they understood and they mastered. They've been using them on us, or they've been interfering. One example of that was when they got in control of our banking system and directly went after cannabis. Cannabis was part of the anointing oil, has extremely good healing properties. I don't advocate for it because since we now have access to it, the bad guys are making sure that we go after the drug part, the THC part, the part that's no good for us. And so, they're busy trying to refine out all of the healing properties. I bought CBD oil for my dog and for myself. The cheaper stuff that was less refined worked better than the more refined stuff. So the natural stuff works better. But what I'm getting at is the globalists are descended from long, long lines. I believe they've been on the planet for a good solid 2 Earth ages, maybe 3. Depends on how you want to count an Earth age. I like the definition in the Bible, in the apocryphal books, in Esdras, in which the angel informs him so that we can work it out, that we are about 10 and a half portions through the 12 portions of the Earth age. So let's just say approximately 1,000 years per portion, 12,000 years for that Earth age. However, we've got the 26,000 year mark, and I believe that's when our solar system crosses the equator of the Milky Way in our path. Well, what's going on right now is the evil ones are making a last final play to get power and to oppress the rest of us. And the purpose of that is so that they and their children get to survive this period of extreme lethality we're going to be going through on the planet. And so that they can emerge from that on top of everything. Come on, come on. Quiet, quiet. Good girl, good girl. So, what are we going through? Well, what the evil ones will not tell us is the truth about anything. Their science is not science at all. I'm sorry, but they lie about so many things, and they're responsible for so many deaths, murders, and genocides across the planet for so long. Our sun goes micronova, and that happens in about a 12,000 year cycle. And we're due for it. We're at the end of the Earth age. When our sun goes micronova, most of those on the surface will not survive. And then we will go into an ice age. And then also the poles of the Earth will be shifting drastically. The Earth, the crust will be separating from the mantle, and the mantle will be separating from the core. And so things inside the Earth are going to be turning at different rates than on the surface of the Earth. So everything is going to be going haywire. Now that's global. It's certainly not global warming. The evil ones know this is coming. In case you're wondering, the fellow that I follow, that I believe is the most knowledgeable on this, he says that we have somewhere just short of 20 years, 19 and a half years, that's going to be okay, and then this will occur before 30 years are up. So that in your lifetimes, you're going to be going through this stuff and see it. Now, if you don't believe me, go look at the sun. Try not to be careful. Don't go blind looking at the sun. You'll see that it's no longer yellow like it was most of our lives. I am guessing I'm guessing that it's been that way for about 4 or 5 years. And you'll notice if you're outside in the sun that it stings, and rather quickly, because the radiations change. That's not man-made global warming. This is the solar system. This is the Milky Way. This is our position in the galaxy. And we've been here before. We've been here before. And we'll be here again in the future. So you can go look up the precessional clock and you can see the cycles that have been mapped out. And you can see how we're in line for some pretty bad catastrophes. But we're not in the worst part in the Milky Way. The worst part is on the opposite side from where we are, because we can see on this particular valence there have been 3 extinction periods. We're going to be into the 4th one shortly. And on the other valence, opposite us, there's been 5 of them. I believe the evil ones have survived these periods before, and they know what's coming, so they're doing their best to dig in, to give them and their children the upper hand upon when we emerge from what's happening. Now, the beginning of the Ice Age begins with a micronova, and the end of the Ice Age, it ends with a solar flare, which basically kind of instantly thaws us out, and we get to start again. If you don't believe me, go look at the layers of strata in the earth, Grand Canyon, or any place in the mountains in Arizona, other areas. You can see layers upon layers that will wave up and down. Each one of those layers, I believe, is a flood period. And most of them are light colored, meaning limestone or sandstone. So those are evidences of previous floods that reset the planet. Remember, Genesis begins with a flood upon the face of the earth. Okay? And Yahweh had to remake the face of the earth. Now, every 5th layer is dark basalt. And in my opinion, that's when the volcanoes go off like crazy and pump out their stuff. And nothing grows for a couple of years because the sun can't get through. Is that climate change? You think? So we might be due for one of those. I just don't know. But the evil ones know about this. And most of you watching this will be alive when this thing touches off. However, between now and then, things are going to be getting worse, much worse. For one, as our magnetic field weakens, and we're already 80% below normal, it affects animals, their migrations. It affects humans, our emotions. It affects our global health. There will be more strokes and more heart attacks as this thing diminishes. And in case you're wondering, we know from the science by studying the Earth that this magnetic field drops down to 5%. And at 5%, I believe that's when the core and the mantle become unlocked, and we have crustal upheavals. All kinds of things can happen on the face of the earth. And so all of this stuff, this extreme, catastrophic stuff that these elite are claiming that are going to be happening because of man-made global warming, they're real. But we don't have anything to do with it. We're just along for the ride. So they want to do their best to kill as many of us as they can, oppress us as well as they can. And it's mostly going to be killing off, like Jordan Peterson says, the poor. It's going to come, this supposed saving of the earth is just no saving the earth. You can't interfere with this sort of cycle at all. Oh, and if you don't believe me, again, go look at the sun. What color is it? It's not yellow like it was most of my life. It's a white, a garish white light, almost kind of a bluish. And I've looked at the Hopi prophecy, and other people have mentioned, is this the blue Kachina? And I think it is the blue Kachina, which is followed by the red Kachina, the micronova, which is the purifier according to the Hopis. And according to the Hopis, this occurs on the planet because we human beings do not behave properly. We do not behave right. And of course, at this point in time in history, The evil ones have us all acting at the most base levels possible. So if you're feeling a little bit more anxious, a little bit more depressed, there's reason for it. This magnetic stuff is affecting your middle brain. And so it is making you more anxious. And a direct result of that, it's the same result it has on me and everyone else, is that we'll start to turn to things for relief. But the question is, will we return to bad habits, doing things that we know are not good for us? Or will we turn to some good habits? In which case, I'd like to give Jordan Peterson a tip. Educate yourself. Sit down and read the Bible. And read right from Genesis. Master the Bible. Push through the Bible. Read it for the history. Learn the characters. Learn their name. Learn the plot. Study character development. Be careful. Quiet. It's okay. It's okay. Come on. Where's my kisses at, huh? Too scared for that? Oh, come on. Give me kisses. Come on. Oh, good girl. Oh, yes, you give me kisses. Yes, I love my puppy dog. Well, I'd like you to buy my Bibles. I would like to have a little bit better digs, be a little bit more functional. I'd like to get a bigger desk. I'd like to have a nice reading chair and with nice lights. I'd like to have natural daylight, nice windows. I'd like to be able to carry some of my books and organize myself better. If you're ever going to pray for me, do me a favor. Pray to Yahweh. I know a lot of you want to pray to Jesus, but Jesus was a name foisted off on us, and it's not the right name. So if you get this Bible, you'll have the right names. You'll learn that. The other thing is that rather than worshiping Jesus or Yeshua, we should follow his example. An example that was very clear, and the example was he didn't do anything on his own. He didn't do anything of his own will. He always turned to Yahshua, Creator Father, his Father, and most of our fathers, for guidance. We were designed to work on this earth. We were designed to take care of this place. We were designed to nurture it, to dress it, and to run it for the benefit of all inhabitants, all species, all races too, for you guys that want to get racial on me. However, there are spoilers among us. And I appreciate Jordan Peterson having the cojones to come out and talk about one of the companies that's misguiding us. I think there's not much time left. And this really does come down to survival, especially for the poorest on the planet. Yes, I've been suffering. We're suffering here in this country. We have evil ones at the helm and evil ones in the seats of power. So learn who they are. They can't deny who they are much longer. They've gotten away with genociding us like crazy, and they pretend that they're the victims. They're name changers. They're identity thieves. For the most part, they're descendants of Esau, who became known as Edom. So Jordan, pay attention. I'm giving you some tips here. Joshua was told to kill all those people. And the reason he was told to kill them all is because for 4 centuries, Yahweh had been working with those people to get them to stop doing their child sacrifice, passing their babies, their sons and their daughters through the fire, sacrificing their children to their lesser gods that they were inventing and making up. He did everything he could do to work with them, but they weren't going to come around, so they needed to be purged. Joshua failed, and as a result, those people were escaped into the rest of the world, and those are the bad ones we're dealing with today. It gets pretty complicated, And it's not just the descendants of Esau, who became known as Edom, for selling his soul, basically, his inheritance, for a bowl of red porridge. Esau, Yahweh says, he hated. Jacob he loved. So the real Israelites are descendants of the man named Jacob, who became named Israel. And being an Israeli is not the same as being an Israelite. Now, before you guys go off half-cocked out there that understand this, you need to understand that there are some Israelites in Jerusalem in particular right now. And there are good figs and bad figs. So have fun separating those. And once we get to understanding that these are the descendants of Cain, of a fallen angel, what was his name? Gadriel. We realize that this is the fallen angel Gadriel, who impregnated Eve, gave birth to Cain. You're all going to say, that's it. Let's go after them. Let's get them. I got news for you. There were 200 fallen angels on Mount Hermon that came up with this great conspiracy, which is the original sin, by the way. And so we only have the story of one of the fallen angels in the Bible. There's 199 more of them and their children to track down, perhaps. You need to understand that a lot of these people that are part of the synagogue of Satan do not identify as Jews. So that's just one of the tips we get out of the Bible. When we have a lot of money changers and problems, it's really easy to finger some of them. We look at the Rothschilds, who were known as Bauer before they changed their name to Red Shield. We have Rockefeller, whose original name had 2 G's in it. We have Schiff, whose son is in the Senate today. He should be thrown out on his ear. And by the way, I hope we can all agree that the only way to make peace on this earth is for us in America to reduce this central government. Oh, the trash can comes through the RV park here. The fact is, the Bible has been misused terribly. Yet the Bible is what we have to turn to, because we have to win this war spiritually. As we return to Yahweh, as it says throughout the whole book, and especially in the prophet Jeremiah, He'll forgive us, and He'll fight for us. He'll fight with us. Not against us, but for us. That's the only way we can really do this. And right now, this jackass who's in the Oval Office has been given to us because Yahweh is upset with us. So it's our punishment. We need to get rid of him and that entire administration. That guy Merrick Garland, he's Jewish. For sure, he's Edomite. He's not an Israelite at all. He's not a descendant of Israel at all. He's just one example. Then we have all of these other Jews that Biden has appointed in positions of power. The head of the CDC, the head of the FDA. All of these people in critical positions, it seems, are of the Jewish faith, but they're not Israelites. Remember that. This Jewish faith is just about as bad as the others out there. The Catholic faith isn't much better, but it is better. The Protestant faith isn't much better, but it is better. The fact is that we've got to get control of ourselves and get control of our country again. The answers to how to do that are also in the Bible. Even the answers as to what money is in the Bible. Got to study it. What you have to understand is that we agreed to live by the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai a long time ago. And the evil ones are busy getting us to violate God's laws as best they can so that they can make sure we don't get the blessings of Yahweh. I got off track quite a bit. We're all in for one heck of a ride in a few years. I believe the Hopi are on the right path when they talk about if we adhere to the ways of the ancient ones and live properly, that the earth will not be quite as destroyed as it would be otherwise. I believe what Jeremiah said is true, that if we repent and start to do God's law, then great. As far as this modern church that tells you, oh, it's all forgiven, you can do whatever you want, it's hogwash. You can't violate the 10 Commandments. As far as the teaching of Yahshua supposedly doing away with the law, it's not true. Read it carefully. You'll find that Yahshua made it very clear that he was there to fulfill the law. These modern pastors have given us a different faith than the faith of our fathers, a different way than the way that the Messiah gave us. They've lied to us. They've deceived us. They've given us licensure, licentiousness to do what we want, to break the law. And that's not the way it works. We have to abide by the law. We have to love truth and justice. So Jordan, you happen to watch this video, join with me in calling out our profession and getting our profession to act right. But in the meantime, get yourself an education. I got sidelined in 2006 by 2 strokes. I had a lot of trouble as a result of being humbled and humiliated. I sat on my ass and read the Bible, and it healed me. I'm not as strong as I once was, but I think I'm better off than I was before. And I do want to go into the corruption in the field of psychology and how it has been used and continues to be used to hurt the American people. These boards force liberalism down our throats. They claim that we have to coexist and we have to accept people for their values, but they won't accept my values. They won't allow me to have my values. If I practice according to my value system and the value system of most clients I've had, they'll go after me for my license. We'll get into that another time. Go buy these Bibles. I'm going to put a link up. It's the cheapest price you're going to get these Bibles at anywhere. I can pretty much guarantee that, but I can't guarantee the price is going to stay the same. I've been warned. It's not going to stay the same. The only thing I ask from you is you can pray for me. Make it to Yahweh, though. Buy these Bibles. I'm supposed to get a little bit of a commission off them. I'd love to sell 1 million of them. I'd like to turn 5% of the United States of America population into Bible readers. I'm not limiting this channel to a particular race or religion at all, because it says in the book, every knee shall bow. So who am I to tell people from other walks of life, other races, if you will, or species, if you will, that they shouldn't read this book? I'm saying read this book. Find out your place in it. Find yourself in it, and you might just turn to the genealogies in the book of Genesis. And when you find yourselves, figure out your salvation. Work out your salvation. Tell us your path to salvation. We want to hear that. We really do. All right, the rain's going to start pouring here. Yahweh bless.